Thoughts for the day. For you bless the righteous, O Lord. You cover him with favor as with a shield. Psalms 5:2. Let the favor of the Lord our God be upon us and establish the work of our hands. Psalms 9:17. By your favor you made us strong. For the Lord God is a sun and shield. The Lord bestows favor and honor. No good thing does he withhold from those who walk uprightly. Psalms 84:11. Now, how abundant are the good things that you have stored up for those who fear you, that you bestow in the sight of all of those who take refuge in you. Psalms 31:19. Then the next thought you want to think about, Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare, not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. Mr. Speaker, honorable members of this House, there was a time when the fear of God rested on our nation, and the fear of God generally existed throughout the islands of our nation. Regrettably, we have in the past compromised here and there, and our actions have grieved the Holy One of Israel, who alone can turn our darkness into light, poverty into prosperity, in short order, and shower upon us his divine favors one more time. Honorable members, we need to pursue the plans Almighty God has for us, for his plans are already blessed, and when fully implemented, his plans shall prosper us and bring our nation into favorable status with God and with man. There's evidence to suggest that under the leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Hubert Minnis and his cabinet, they are in hot pursuit, and the implementation of the plan Almighty God always had in store for our nation. We decree and declare restoration, renewal, and revival from east to west, north and south is beginning to reign all over the Commonwealth of Bahamas. Therefore we can say, oh, give thanks unto the Lord, for he is good, and his mercies endured forever. Oh, honorable members, surely you can say it with me. Oh, give thanks unto the Lord, for he is good, and his mercies endured forever. Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, the God of righteousness and truth, grant to members of our Parliament and all in positions of responsibility the guidance of your Holy Spirit. Grant to our leaders the plans you always had for our nation, so that our leaders may effectively carry them out. May our elected leaders never lead the nation wrongly through love of power, desire to please, or unworthy ideals, but laying aside all private interest and prejudices, keep in mind their responsibility to seek to improve the condition of all who call Bahamas home, so that your divine favor may return upon our nation one more time. By faith, we are thanking you, Father, for the return of your divine favor throughout the length and breadth of our beloved Commonwealth of Bahamas. We speak favor from God, and bless, I pray thee, our aged Queen Elizabeth, and our Governor General, Dame Marguerite Pindling, our Prime Minister Hubert Minnis, our Speaker, Cabinet Ministers, and backbenchers, and our Queen's loyal opposition, and our support personnel in our Honorable House of Assembly, not forgetting the leadership of our police and defense force, prisons, customs, financial and medical services providers, teachers and postal service providers, and those manning our airports and docks. Father, we thank you for keeping our nation safe from the ravages of hurricanes and storms during this 2017 season, which has now begun. We give you praise, we give you glory, we give you thanks. In Jesus' name I pray. Praying together the prayer Jesus taught his disciples to pray, saying, Our Father, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. May I place upon you the Abrahamic blessings. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you. May the Lord be gracious unto you and grant you his peace and prosperity and protection. In Jesus' name, amen.
Good morning, honorable members. Honorable members, when last week suspended on Thursday, the member for Cat Island, Rumpkin, El Salvador, had reserved the floor. But just before I call on the honorable member, I wish to make a statement from the chair. On Thursday, after leaving this place, I had the opportunity to view via television the proceedings of the House, and I purposefully did that because I wanted to have a good appreciation of what this honorable House was transmitting, not only to the Bahamas, but out to the entire globe. I can say that I wasn't pleased with what I saw. And as a consequence, the chair has made a decision to enforce the rules strictly to maintain the decorum of the House. I searched the rule as a consequence over the weekend, and in the process I was searching the rules to make certain that when these rules are enforced, they are indeed the rules of procedure of this Parliament. Obviously, in this adversarial environment, allegations and assertions will be made, denials will come. We don't expect that there would be any or too many admissions, and so we must maintain order in this place. Pursuant to Rule 32 of the debate, when a member is speaking, no other member may speak or make any noise or disturbance so as to interrupt him except under the rules. And the exceptions to that rule is found in Rule 33:27. When you rise on a point of order or on a point of privilege, the member may not speak until the chair recognizes that member. You cannot get to your feet and begin speaking before you are recognized by the chair. Pursuant to Rule 33:6, a member may not speak more than once to a question before the House, except on explanation, elucidation, reply, or with leave of the House. Now we want to make certain that as we enforce these rules, no member, there is no provision in the rules, and I believe me, over the weekend I've been through these rules. No provision in the rules that allows a member to get up without a valid point of order or a valid point of privilege and begin to refute, dispute, or impute without leave of the chair. That, what I consider Jack in the Box, popping up procedure came to an end on Thursday. The chair will not tolerate such behavior from any member. An honorable member, while the chair is speaking, you remain quiet. I can hear you. Yes, please do. Because as we proceed from this point forward, the rules, particularly Rule 88, members should become familiar with. Now, according to Rule 38, on a point of order, a member, Rule 38:1, a member who rises on a point of order shall, when invited by the Speaker. In other words, you don't start speaking until you're invited by the Speaker or the chairman to do so, must state the infringement of these rules on which his point of order is based. And when that is done, the member will then resume his seat. In other words, you don't get up on a point of order and run off on a discourse that can only provoke further debate. Once you rise on a point of order, you state that point of order, you state the infringement of the rules, and the chair will then determine whether it's a valid or an invalid point of order. And if the chair determines that it is a valid point of order, then the chair will make a ruling. If the chair determines that it is an invalid point of order, that ends the matter. There will be no debate with the chair on points of order. Now, having said that, I also wish to make a reference to privilege, because it is apparent that this is a significant question. And on the opening of Parliament, I made this pledge in the presence of the Governor General. May it please Your Excellency, I have now, in the name and on behalf of the House of Assembly, to lay claim by humble petition to their ancient and undoubted rights and privileges, particularly that their persons may be free from arrest and molestation, that they may enjoy freedom of speech in all their debates, that they may have access to your Excellency's persons whenever occasion may require, and that all their proceedings may receive for your Excellency the most favorable consideration. Now, what that means is that the rules, the chair will permit members to speak and grant freedom of expression within the rules. No attempt will be made by the chair to cause information that the public should be entitled to be suppressed. This is, and so it is the chair position that it will permit,
which was also rejected, and ultimately the amount agreed was for $44,139.73 inclusive of VAT per month, for a total annual contract of $500,000. The contract was drawn up, but I am advised was never executed. And my ministry has been paying this in good faith on a monthly basis. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The chair. If you have a point of order?
Question for the member who just spoke.
No.
Point of clarification.
Do you have a point of order?
I'm not correcting him, but
No, your point of clarification must be with respect to any matter that you may have said in your presentation. Not
Nothing he said.
Well, you should advise your team leader, who is yet to speak, for him to raise that matter when he speaks.
Fair enough.
The chair recognizes the member for Englishman.
So, I rise on a point of order. The point of order, Mr. Speaker, is that the member for Freetown has misled this honorable House on a number of matters. And I wish to lay on the table of this Parliament a couple of documents which will show that what he represented to this Parliament was not true. Not true. And I don't see why, I don't want to say he knowingly or purposefully misled, but I would say that he misled. He may be able to explain why, how.
Order that the documents be brought up.
Speaker, I need to say what they are.
Okay, go ahead.
Speaker, the first one is, and I will start with perhaps the lesser of them, is that the member...
Well, what I don't want you to do, to provoke further debate, is to go into the details of the document.
I won't go into detail. I'm just saying what it is. The first is dealing with the lesser, but I think the lesser of the three issues, and is the issue of the basis upon which the NAD increases its fees or sought to increase its fees. I think the member indicated that NAD will increase its fees because the airport was downgraded as a result of a Fitch rating, and that therefore it cost more to borrow, and it was all tied in or bottled up into this issue of the downgrading. I took an objection at the time, and but what I have here is actually, I don't have the actual Gazette. I have a newspaper report from the Tribune where the CEO of NAD, and I adopt the contents of this report because I know the facts. I served as minister twice, 10 years as speaker. Where the CEO indicates back in 2015 an intent to raise the landing fees, speaker. Nothing to do with any downgrading in a couple of weeks ago, speaker. And she sets out the rationale to do with the borrowing and the way in which the loan is structured, the normal business of NAD, not what the member represented to this Parliament. I think what the member sought to do, Mr. Speaker, was to indicate that are you
the chair recognizes the member for...
On a point of order.
Point of order.
The point of order is that the honourable member is misleading this honorable House, Mr. Speaker. That is the point of order.
Thank you.
May I proceed?
Yes, you can proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, the honorable member wants to lay a document, second-hand information from somebody whose information she admittedly adopts, but related to something in the past, which she purports now to seek to discredit something that is currently happening in our country. The honorable member for Freetown has spoken to current circumstances, not the past intentions of anybody. It's happened some time ago. He is speaking to, because I didn't interrupt the honorable member, but I could. I could adopt those tactics, but I won't. My constituents expect more from me. Mr. Speaker, the honorable member for Freetown spoke about current circumstances. Now, whatever the intention was 3 years ago, that may have been the intention, but that is not what happened. He spoke about it, and unless the honorable member for Angleton can show from current documents that what this honorable member is saying is untrue, it is wrong for her to impute dishonesty, to impute that a member is misleading his honorable place in the manner that she's done. That is my point of order.
Honorable member, the document that you intend to lay,
Yes. You want me to
order that it be brought up?
Read the 17th. 19th. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. See, the second one relates to the issue of the...
Just a moment,
Sorry.
please.
If the member objects to that, I will get the Gazette of the publication. I will do the research at the Tribune and Guardian, no problem. If there's an objection, Speaker. If there's an objection, Speaker, I will bring the Gazette of the government, Speaker.
I'm trying to find the date of this document. I don't see the date of publication.
It refers, and I think it's 2015, Mr. Speaker, where they have been trying for a couple of years to implement increasing rates without success.
Okay. With respect to this document.
Yeah.
The chair cannot accept this document to be laid in its present form. The chair recommends that you get the vetted
I will do that,
document.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I'm not finished.
Sorry.
The chair also orders that all references and statements made with respect to this current document be expunged from the records.
Which okay. Speaker. Speaker, that would, the document, then therefore, Mr. Speaker, I do not refer to the document, but I assert that the member knew or ought to have known that there was an attempt to increase the
Honorable member,
long before
honorable
that,
member,
Speaker.
please,
Speaker, I'm just,
when the chair is speaking,
yes.
you should resume your seat.
Okay.
The chair will not entertain any discussion with respect to matters that the chair has ruled on. And the chair has made a ruling, so the chair will not entertain any further discussions with respect to that matter. You can proceed with your other documents, and as your documents are laid, once they are accepted by the chair, then...
I did not realize that, anyway, Speaker, I will come back on that point. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The second point, and again, I only have a draft of the document. The executed document is in the possession of the government of the Bahamas. This was provided to the media at the time, and this relates to the flight information region. I think...
Honorable Member.
Speaker, are they objecting? Are they objecting to this, Mr. Speaker? I just don't know if the members are objecting.
No,
These are the facts, Mr. Speaker.
Hold on.
Yes, it's a draft of an actual... I don't have the actual. I'm not there anymore.
Well,
Speaker.
The chair is taking a position.
No, it didn't change. It was executed in my watch.
If these are documents that you intend to lay on the table, the chair cannot accept a draft of a document.
Speaker, this is...
And reference to a draft of a document. Bring the original documents or the certified documents, and the chair will most graciously permit you to lay it on the table.
Speaker, the way I would get that is to have a public officer copy it and sneak it out of the government. If that is the way, the government knows this was executed, Mr. Speaker. This was executed by the Bahamas government when I was there. So, Mr. Speaker, you know, if they object, the Speaker is not going to accept it. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Speaker? No problem.
No, that is not what I'm saying.
Sorry.
What I'm saying is, if you're going to lay a document on the table, you should have an original or a copy of that original, not a draft.
I would have to get that done, Speaker, and I would hate to think that that is what is required to prove the truth in this Parliament, because the government is disputing, Speaker, this is a copy or draft of the actual document.
You have any further documents you wish to lay?
Mr. Speaker, what I will do is share this with the media outside of this Parliament, where the facts can be told. It's the people's time, Speaker, and so we need everybody to know what's going on. Speaker, the third thing is, and this is probably the most egregious, and I've started with that.
Member,
the third thing, Speaker.
I'm trying to be as reasonable as I possibly can, but I cannot sit here and permit you to insidiously suggest that the chair is somehow preventing the truth from coming before this Parliament. That is exactly what you just did.
To do, Mr. Speaker. I'm trying to get the truth and the facts out in the Parliament. I understand the point the Speaker makes relative to that it's not an actual document, Speaker.
Yes, that's the only point being made.
Yes. And I moved on, Mr. Speaker. I'm just saying that
you moved on after making comments.
Yes, I'm referring to the side opposite, Mr. Speaker, not you. Side opposite, Speaker. Speaker, the third one is perhaps the most egregious of them, and these are copies of actual documents. The member for Freetown asserted in this House that there were certain irregularities in terms of how business was conducted at the NAD board level. And he said as a result, I think the language he used, he had to summarily dismiss the board. And as a result, I want to lay on the table of this House letters from the former chairman of NAD and the Airport Authority, and a copy of a letter from the Office of the Ministry of Transport and Local Government. Speaker, the first letter is one from the chairman. It's a copy of an original. Should be in the possession of the government. It's addressed to Honorable Frankie Campbell, who's the member for Southern Shores, Mr. Speaker. And what the member does, I won't read the letter in its totality, Mr. Speaker. I don't know if you want to review it beforehand, Speaker.
Yes. Can I do that?
Thank you.
Order that the document be brought up. Honorable Member Fangerson, the first two documents, one with respect to the Airport Authority and the Office of the Minister of Transport and Local Government, seem to be authentic documents. However, this third document, which appears to be minutes of a meeting.
No, but that is a statement from the former chairman. Speaker, it doesn't have to be laid. That's in the public domain, Mr. Speaker, so I won't press you on that, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. But these, I have no difficulty with both of these.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, this is a letter from dated May 16, 2017. It's from the Anthony McKinney Queens Council, Chairman, Airport Authority / NAD. And what he said, first, it's written to the member for Southern Shores as Minister of Transport and Local Government. Firstly, my congratulations on both your recent victory in the general elections and your appointment as Minister. As you are aware, I was first appointed for 1 year to act as Chairman of the Airport Authority on July 1st, 2012. This appointment by inference meant that I would also act as Chair of the Nassau Airport Development Company Limited. As of today, those appointments continue. Technically, my current term as Chairman of the above boards is due to expire on the 3rd of June 2017. However, protocol dictates that I should tender my resignation from both boards at this time, as my appointments were made by another minister and executive. As it would not be prudent to leave either board without serving directors, I will, of course, continue at your pleasure, should there be a delay in forming and appointing new boards and chairmen. As I am uncertain under whose portfolio ministry the Airport Authority and the Nassau Airport Development Company Limited falls, I have written to both ministries in this regard. Finally, I must express my thanks for having been allowed to serve in the above-mentioned capacities. So on the 16th of May, the resignation of the minister was tendered. And then on the, Chairman, not Minister, Chairman. Sorry for that, Mr. Speaker. And then there's a response of the 17th of May, the next day, under the signature of the Honorable Frankie Campbell, MP Minister. And it says, Dear Mr. McKinney, I hereby acknowledge receipt of your correspondence dated 16th May 2017 regarding the above captioned subject. Please be advised that the contents of this matter has been discussed with the Honorable Dionisio Diagula, and we both agree that you should continue as chairman of the above boards until further advice. I thank you for your service, as I assure you of my highest consideration. That sounds like a letter from the member from Southern Shores. You know, it's the courteous nature of it, Mr. Speaker. So I would like to lay these, because these two letters indicate that unlike the minister who said these people sat in place and he had to summarily, or whatever the language was, summarily dismiss them, this letter shows that the members resigned from the board, were told not to do so. And I'm told that at a later stage, a call came, and this is what this document speaks to, Mr. Speaker, which invited them to put their resignations in.
Point of order.
The honourable member is misleading this honourable House about a matter about the representations of this member. And if I may have leave, I will explain, sir.
Honourable member, you may.
Mr. Speaker, what the honourable member said, the record can show, is that he summarily dismissed the board. There's nothing that member has said which shows that he did not dismiss the board. The board may have asked to stay on, may have been invited to stay on, but at some stage afterwards he dismissed the board. He did. Speaker, there's nothing that this member said that shows that what that member said is not true. And for those reasons, I would respectfully ask you to look at what he said when you have an opportunity. Look at what those documents said. And if they do not show that he was incorrect, that those documents were being improperly laid in his place. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Speaker, so I wish to lay these two documents. The facts speak for themselves, Mr. Speaker, and the Hing people will make a judgment call, and of course the Speaker can review the matter, Mr. Speaker. I think that the concern, Mr. Speaker, is the impression given that a board which was described as acting improperly tried to stay on, and that the minister had to summarily dismiss them. In fact, and we don't accept the board acting improperly, Mr. Speaker, but that's another issue. But I wish to show that the minister never summarily dismissed any board at any time. And if the minister says so, the matter in dispute now, and I've laid something which queries that, the minister can show us in writing I'm sure he'll have the documentation to establish that he fired the board or summarily dismissed it.
Thank you, Honorable
Thank you,
Member.
Speaker.
Order that the documents be brought up.
It's a matter that you indicated that...
Honorable Member,
It's a matter you said you'd come back to us on, Mr. Speaker. You would review the Hansard relative to comments made about crooked deals or something of that nature. I think, Mr. Speaker, I believe that was the issue. You said you'd read the Hansard and advise us. I'm wondering if you're in a position to do that yet, Mr. Speaker.
not in a position to do that, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order that the documents lie on the table. The chair recognizes the honorable member from Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador.
Thank you for recognizing me, Mr. Speaker. Speaker, I rise on behalf of the good and resilient people, the great constituency of Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador. As in all things, I first give thanks to Almighty God for all of His many blessings. I repose absolute faith and confidence in Him, and endeavor to cause my words, thoughts, and actions to please Him, not man or mammon. I've had the humble pleasure of bringing Cat Island's voice to this place, and San Salvador and Rumkey for 5 non-consecutive terms, beginning with the by-election in January 1992. In January, Rumkey and San Salvador were later added to the general elections in August of that year. Then again, I was successful. My constituents have consistently believed in me. They have trusted me to come here to advocate on their behalf, and for that trust, again, I pledge to work diligently on their behalf so as to prove myself worthy of their continued support. Before I address an egregious issue that relates to my constituents, I take this opportunity to thank my wife, Anne-Marie, and our children who have stood with me without faltering over these many years. Public service can be very hard on personal relationships, and some of you have just come to go and find that out. If not at all. If not yet. It calls for many acts of selflessness. And I thank them for cheering me on no matter what. My wife, my children, my siblings. I would be considered negligent if I do not immediately address an issue that pertains specifically to those whom I represent. Last week, the member for Elizabeth made his contribution to this debate. When he referred to my constituents, he enumerated them and assigned percentages to their value. Sad. When we speak here, we must, by the tenor of our conversation, ensure that benefit comes to those that we represent. The side opposite is now charged with governance. Very early, they must learn that 80 people in Rumkey, the 72 in Ragged Island, or the 700 in Berry Island, all have the same rights accruing to them as those who live in New Providence. They are all citizens. None has priority over another. Each has the right to live where he or she wishes. And our obligation to them is to ensure that they have, at minimum, access to essential services, and where possible, access to enhanced services. Nothing is too good for any Bahamian. Nothing is too good for Cat Island. Nothing is too good for San Salvador. Nothing is too good for Rumkey. Nothing, remember. What amazes me is that this fostering, Mr. Speaker, this flippant referral to these islands comes from the government that committed to the Back to the Island campaign, which is anticipated to become the largest migration of Bahamians back to the family island. Why did they move in the first place? What incentive is there for them to return when something as basic as the construction of facilities to provide essential services becomes the subject of debate? That urgent issue pertaining to Cat Island, Rumkey and San Salvador, but I pressed them. Just gave them few thoughts on that matter. Mr. Speaker, rightfully, many of us here, newcomers in this place, have given, rightfully so, a brief biography of themselves during this debate. An organization that I've belonged to for many, many years, they call it the icebreaker. They gave their icebreaker. I'd be remiss to not do so also, just to remind us all of what I call the Bahamian dream. My life can be characterized, Mr. Speaker, as one of overcoming insurmountable odds. Having been born in abject poverty, in a single-room clapboard makeshift house, Smith Lane or Fulford, and growing up in Cat Island, an undeveloped family island, or out island as we were then called. Today, Mr. Speaker, the elimination of outdoor toilets is topical. We want to eradicate the providence of outdoor toilets. When I grew up in circumstances where there were not even outside toilets. We had only the bushes. They were rich enough to have stub buckets. I had the bushes. My mother was a maid on the Eastern Road and a janitress at a liquor store on Bay Street. We, as her children, were very elated when she graduated from working as a maid on the Eastern Road, went to work as a maid on Paradise Island in a hotel, Beach Inn, where she ended the rest of her career. My father was but a fireman at the airport, and later a taxi driver to survive as the eldest child. I worked as a packing boy, Disney market, mechanic helper, a gas station attendant, as a yard boy at Honda Rental, as a construction laborer, carpenter helper. It all helped me through high school. Never had the opportunity, because of my circumstance, to attend college or university. When sometimes they ask when I went to college, I used to jokingly say, yes, I went to college. I went to St. John's College, Jolly Green Giants, which I was proud to be. So I say that to say that I'm a typical realization of the Bahamian dream of the past. I was not the only one that came through like that. Many of us here, perhaps, could speak to similar circumstances and to look back to see where they are today. But the difference between me and many of them is I have not watched from where I came. I still speak with those who are still dreaming. And unfortunately, being with them, you recognize that their dreams, they perhaps very much like a nightmare, because they feel handicapped by their circumstances. And so, Speaker, I'm very privileged to be able to give something back in the way of public service to a country that has done so much for me personally and professionally. Looking at the member from Golden Isle, I recall that at one time I was, one time I was Wolf Road and Urbana Street, Urbana Street, Rural Avenue on the corner there, 6 o'clock in the morning, waiting for the truck to take me to work as a construction laborer. And I was picked up by immigration. No, I don't. I'm just recalling. And Speaker, I was saying that. They're saying, right? And fortunately, someone saying, I was in the van, the bus. Someone saying, that's brave little boy, man. You don't know who he is? Let him go. I'm just saying the circumstance in which we all go, and we all go one, and we hope to continue to be one. And so I stand here as the leader of the Majesty's official opposition. And it's regrettable, Speaker, that my beloved parents not alive to see this today. I owe much to them, so much my success, my character, my sensibility to the value system that my parents, and particularly my paternal grandparents in Old Bike-Get-Out, where I grew up, that they were instilled in me during my formative years. That value system, that guides my decision-making process and continue to shape my personal and professional character to this day. Speaker, I extend sincere congratulations to the new FM government on their electoral victory, and their mandate to govern this beautiful Commonwealth of Ireland on behalf of all them. I congratulate you. As my colleague, the member for Engleson, has already said, we will do our best to support you, while at the same time providing the kind of effective opposition which is so essential to our democracy. I say to them, though, that there's so much more to the job than what you see on television. In cheering the FLM in their victory, I urge them to fully appreciate the message from the Bahamian people. They, no doubt, from my observations, went to unprecedented levels to get themselves into government. I said they went, yeah. It is widely believed that they were financed by untold millions of dollars from foreign interests. I only put that. That's okay. I don't. No. I mean, I'm just saying. We still. See, I'm just saying these points, Speaker, because the allegations are thrown at us as well. So I mean, these are allegations that are out there, that goes and belief that is out there in the public domain. And so, at the end of the day,
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker,
the chair recognizes member for Port Charlotte.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Last week when I was giving my presentation,
Your point of
order is that this member is using the same tactics that they opposed when I stood up to speak last week, or this last week. And so, misleading. And so, my objection is to the speaker's presentation right now. If I were made to withdraw my statements without proof, I would ask that this honorable member do the same. If there's no proof that he can lay on the table, I ask that he withdraw those statements.
Honorable member for Scott Island.
May I respond?
From
So you have my response to his case, if I may?
Yes, you
then
may.
you could decide what you would do, if I may.
You may.
Speaker, my objection to what he had to say yesterday, or I objected to what he had to say, and I even whispered to him. I said, listen, you cannot come in here and hide behind what your constituents or other persons may have said to you and repeat it here. But that could lead to untold mischief. That was the basis of my objection. What I am saying here, I'm not hiding behind. I'm saying it is widely believed, and it is my view.
Who widely believes it? Who widely believes it?
And it's my view.
Who widely
And
believes
I adopt. I said it is my view that they were untold, right? No.
But who is it widely believed?
Honorable member.
That's what I'm saying, right?
Who is it widely believed?
And the point I'm headed to, and I'm saying to them that the allegation of foreign dollars being used in our campaign is made against both sides. It wasn't a question. I was not excusing my side from the allegation. So I said that. If I didn't hear that, then that's it.
The chair recognizes the honorable member
Speaker,
for
the
South Beach.
honorable member for Cat Island,
State your point of order.
misleading this House. Honorable House.
Honorable member from South Beach, you can explain.
Mr. Speaker, the honorable member claims that this government, members on this side, made allegations against members of that, members of the, I presume he's talking about the PF. No evidence is brought before this House. Who, member for Charlotte, brought a point to this House showing that when he was on his feet, when I was on my feet, making statements about fact, in my case, facts, Mr. Speaker, we were challenged to prove it or to withdraw it. And now there are allegations that are being made against members on this side. And you see, Mr. Speaker, the reason that this is so egregious and can be so troublesome is because when you have foreign interests, it is being alleged, that affects the sovereign will of the people of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, you are indicting, first of all, this side in the most egregious way. And so, sir, unless, Mr. Speaker, the members can prove, the member for Cat Island can lay on this House some proof, some evidence that he or they were accused by anybody on this side of having taken money or been influenced financially by members, persons on the opposite side. So I ask that he proves.
Honorable members, with respect to the point of order raised, honorable member, the chair is about to make a ruling on the matter. Could you resume your seat? With respect to the objection and the point of order made, the chair is of the view that in the best interests of both the Progressive Liberal Party and the Free National Movement and the governance of the Bahamas as a whole, that assertions of that nature doesn't augur well for the country, for either side. And as such, those assertions should be withdrawn and expunged from the records.
Speaker, I accept the ruling, and in fact, I'll give you my written part of my speech.
Yes.
It seems to accord with what your thinking is. And it was only a salutary warning that I was headed to in laying the basis for that salutary warning. I was suggesting what has been thought about widely in the community, fueled by a number of public statements made by persons, which I could do, but I accept.
Yes. Thank you, Honorable Member.
Well, Mr. Speaker, what I can say, and as I say this, they could decide whether they wish to object. What I could say is that the record of the FNM campaign clearly reflects that the FNM, their cronies, supporters, allies, super PACs, or whatever name one wishes to identify them, they were able to persuade the Bahamian people that the Progressive Liberal Party, they were able to persuade the Bahamian people that the Progressive Liberal Party mismanaged the Bahamian economy and was taking the country in the wrong direction. They were able to persuade that, right? Speaker, they raised the specter that the back money was stolen and that the PLP government had engaged in all manner of corrupt behavior and acts of malfeasance. That's what they did. The FNM and their surrogates said explicitly that the PLP government engaged in some secret deal with the new boogeyman that they created, the Chinese, and that the agreements were not in the best interest of the Bahamas. As a matter of fact, Mr. Speaker, it was suggested that the Bahamas would become a colony of China. Further, it appeared that there was a deliberate decision to create an anti-Chinese hysteria. This was particularly vexing and perplexing, Mr. Speaker, to us, because it was the FNM who rightly recognized the People's Republic of China. Mr. Speaker, it was the FNM who welcomed Hutchison Whampoa and embraced Sarkis Ismailian, China, Exim Bank, and the China destruction of America. They were the ones. Further, the member for Freetown said from a rally platform that the PLP stole the back money. Thief. Used the word thief. Thief to back money. And the new owners of Bahamas were unfit to own and operate this property and had ties to the mob and organized crime. That's the member for Freetown. No evidence was ever produced in support of these claims, as none of it, of course, was true, and is demonstrably not true. I make these points that these falsehoods essentially form the foundational premise on which the FNM's election campaign was built. And it worked very well. And it worked very well for the FNM. I'm happy to see that the member, I'm happy to see the member from Sudan is admitting to those falsehoods. Mr. Speaker.
Yes, the chair recognizes. The chair recognizes the member for Sudan.
I would like that part of the honourable member's speech expunged from the record. I was sitting, I made no such admission, and to try and put it in the record when he knows better from being, was it 5 non-consecutive terms? He should know better. Please ask him to withdraw it and expunge it.
Honourable member.
Mr. Speaker, might I just respond?
Yes.
I'm suitably chastised. I had hoped that the member, on standing on a point of order, would have repeated what he said. Then it would have given me justification to say it. He didn't say anything. So since he said from sitting, I'll withdraw it. But he very cleverly did not repeat.
All right. The statement with respect to the admission by St. Anne's is withdrawn and hereby expunged from the records.
I had hoped that he would have taken the bait and repeated, but he didn't. Mr. Speaker, as I said, and I repeat, that falsehoods essentially form the foundational premise on which the FNM's election campaign was built. And it worked very well. Mr. Speaker, as I pointed out, the election was a contest for political power. The FNM won. They have formed the government. I congratulate them. I do it sincerely. We now say then, let us set aside the rally talk. Let us set aside the posturing, the political bluster, the demonization and the victimization, and let us get to work on behalf of the Bahamian people. Mr. Speaker, I turn to the budget which the government has laid before this House. You know, the budget is the best expression of the intentions of the government. It speaks to their priorities. It speaks to the importance they attach to their priorities. It speaks to their policies and how they intend to implement them. And most importantly, it speaks to the promises they are making to the Bahamian people about how they seek to improve their lives. Mr. Speaker, it gives me no pleasure to conclude that this budget is severely lacking. It is defective in two main respects. Firstly, it betrays the fact that this FNM government still has no vision, still has no policies, and still has no plan. Secondly, it also portrays the fact that despite the new faces among them and the clamor for change from the country, this is still the same old FNM. Mud-flinging half-truths, peddling broken promises, prioritizing paybacks to their rich associates and political backers, and steeped in conflicts of interest by offering tax relief to themselves, their families, and friends. And when called, they asked whether, Mr. Speaker, I asked leave. Could I ask leave of you? Could I ask leave of you to add the word lovers? But I just want to say I have not found any lovers yet. But when I do, I will add it. And when called to declare, let's take the member from Eastern Bahamas. When he was called to declare his interest in offering tax relief to his own airline business, it was really inexcusable for him not to accept ownership of the budget. As has been apparent since that revelation inspired by the intervention of the member for Angiston. Because, you know, look what this response was to it. And the member of Angiston pointed out that what he had to do ought to do, that he failed to declare his pecuniary interest in Sky Bahamas, an airline that will benefit from the tax rate, which he announced. He said, man, I only became aware of that when I read the budget communication. Now, Mr. Speaker, such decisions, I mean, the budget coming here, I would have thought, and I don't know, they may have changed it. They were approved by cabinet. If you are to take the minister at face value and accept the suggestion that some nameless this person wrote that budget speech for him, and that he only became aware of his benefits when he read the speech, it is a breathtaking admission of breakfast. Mr. Speaker, this is a matter of basic responsibility. I recall in 2012, when we were elected, we went into government. The budget was presented to us as a cabinet. We decided what we will adopt, reject, and what we will bring, and we'll add to attempt to implement our policies and programs and plans. That's what we did. I would have thought that they would have done the same thing. And when I read the budget, I think they did the same thing. I think so, and I probably will be able to find it out later on. So disowning the budget raises the specter of credibility, because who then was responsible for all the bluster, the grandstanding, and the posturing?
The chair recognizes
the demonizing, the demonizing.
Honorable member for Cat Island, the chair recognizes the member for Eastern Bahamas on a point of order.
That when a member rises,
I'm getting to the point of order.
I didn't hear it, that's all.
Yeah, okay.
The chair recognizes the member for Eastern Bahamas
On a point of order.
on a point of order.
Mr. Speaker, the member is... I'm getting to it. Relax yourself. Mr. Speaker, the member is misleading this House terribly with respect to statements that I made in regards to this budget.
Yes.
The member is saying that this member disowns this budget, or I can't remember the exact words, but he's trying to suggest that we do not accept this budget. And that was never suggested in this House. What was stated was the matter with respect to duties, with respect to aircraft parts and maintenance, was an item that was not mentioned in my budget by an oversight. And as simple as that, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, again for the record, my interest has been declared. And I challenge the member to declare his interest in the same industry.
I have
Honorable member for Cat Island.
I have no interest in any airline industry. And if the member, and I have none. And if you could demonstrate it, please do. And if you think I do, and you think I'm acting improperly or dishonorably in saying it, say it outside. I wouldn't have to raise no privilege here. I have no interest. The only interest I had in an airline was when I was the minister for Bahamas Air, and I put that on the right path. No. And you could have asked me if you want to know. But what I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, is that member said I did not mislead this House. Get the Hansard, you find that the member for Angleton said to him, you need to declare your interest. And then he said he didn't know about the benefit that Sky Bahamas is going to get until he read the budget communication, or he saw the budget communication. That's what he said. That's what he said. And so, Mr. Speaker, and so I said that it didn't appear, and because of those comments, I adopted the view that you are distancing yourself from your budget and the communication, and that is what I said. I think I would have said that to you privately as well, and that's what makes it frightening. All right. Now, Mr. Speaker, let's look at the budget communication, and I invite us to, first of all, let's strip the budget communication, strip it of all its political bluster. If you strip the communication from what I call the political bluster and posturing, that communication still confesses that the key national performance indicators, that are used to determine the economic health of the country, the key national performance indicators have not only improved, but they are also heading in the right direction from the budget communication itself. It's a confession to those facts. Mr. Speaker, in face of the slurs,
Honorable member,
and the chief...
The chair recognizes the member.
Mr. Speaker, I thought he said he has to say something.
I said when a person rises, honorable member, don't put words in my mouth. I said when a person rises, before he begins to speak, the chair will recognize the member. And if it is on a point of order, he must state the infringement of the rules that he's rising on a point of order. The chair had not even yet recognized the honorable member. The chair recognizes the honorable member for
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise simply requesting clarification. I note that the time on the clock says an hour and 37 minutes. I do recall that the honorable member ceded a half an hour of his time to the honorable member from Engliston, and I would wish for the clock to reflect that change. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The chair recognizes the honorable member for Cat Island.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I say, Speaker, in the face of the slurs and cheap innuendos made by the FNM, the data, the evidence of the key indicators, the hard facts, they all speak to the prudent fiscal management of our PLP administration, and it's admitted in the communication. And I'll demonstrate it, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I present but a sample of those key performance indicators as set out in the government's own communication. Tourism arrivals numbers, they improved. Consumer price inflation fell. The current account deficit declined. The balance of payments improved. The trade deficit contracted sharply. External reserves increased by some 93 million. Bank credit quality improved overall. Those are a sample of the key performance indicators. Mr. Speaker, let me put them in layman's language. The tourism arrivals, they were up. Inflation, or the cost of living, was down. The amount we owed during the year was down. In trading with other countries, we earned more. We imported less. Our foreign currency savings went up. And more people were able to keep up with their debt. Those are the vital signs that one looks at to determine whether the economic health of the country is good. Mr. Speaker, there's more. There's more. The FNM, now in government,
honorable member,
has come full circle.
The chair
on back.
They now the member for honorable member. The chair recognizes
Mr.
the member
Speaker,
for.
I rise on a point of order. This honorable member is misleading this House. He knows that unless he states the reference period, and I'm referring to the level of external reserves, as a previous director of the central bank, I can state that you cannot make this blanket statement in isolation. Ask the honorable member, please, to say to what is he comparing his the current level of external reserves.
Honorable member.
This is my contribution, Mr. Speaker. And I will, and Mr. Speaker, what I'm pointing out is that if you look at, all he needs to do is, he needs to look at the communication that they adopted or agreed to in their cabinet, and look at the items I call. What I'm saying, I'm not comparing it to anything. I'm saying that each of those vital signs, and I'm using doctor's term now, those are the vital signs to determine, I'm not qualified, no, I'm not qualified, but they are the vital signs when I think about when I look at the economy of the Bahamas. Those are the things I look at to tell me how we are going and how we are not going. Mr. Speaker, that's what I'm doing. And I'm saying, what I pointed out, he raised the question of the external reserves, 93 million. So I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, that is one of those indicators, one of the vital signs. It improved. That's what I'm saying, Mr. Speaker. And I say, Mr. Speaker, that there is more. There's more. The FNM now in government has come full circle on back. And the member for Freetown should apologize to us for calling us thieves. Well, I'm coming back to him. They now concede that BAC did in fact achieve its intended policy objectives, and that it was in fact good for the Bahamian economy. It comes full circle. You are minister, you know, Mr. Story. Mr. Speaker, you're a minister. There are 7 ministers in this House. I hope they're hearing what I'm saying. Right? They have now come full circles, Mr. Speaker. The FNM always knew where the BAC money went. It went into the consolidated fund. And the draft estimates of the revenue carries a line item for BAC not only today, but from its inception. It goes where all taxes and fees and other government revenues go. They are deposited in the consolidated fund. Mr. Speaker, you know what's so interesting? Within days of the election, the chairman of the FNM was casually telling the media, yes, they knew that we didn't steal the VAT money. It was just a lie told on the campaign trail. And Mr. Speaker, after proclaiming that the cup, I said it was just a lie on the campaign trail. And Mr. Speaker, after proclaiming that the cupboards were bare, member from East Bahamas, he said the cupboards were there, but yet he had to concede that the government is not insolvent. Layman's term, the government ain't broke. The government broke. It's not insolvent. Mr. Speaker, that's what he said. I'm using his words. Just look in the communications, and I invite all you all to look at it. If you don't know exactly where it is, I think that's at page 6 of his communication. Mr. Speaker, I will go further. That is why we could boast back today. The whole country can celebrate, right? They can celebrate, right? Because the projected economic growth of 1.8% for this year and 3.3% in the next year, all those are the indicators. We could celebrate that. These figures compare favorably with the growth projections of the International Monetary Fund of 1.4% and 2.2% for the same fiscal periods. Mr. Speaker, that is why, Mr. Speaker, some 31,735 jobs were added to the Bahamas economy in 4.5 years from May 2012. When the department reported a workforce of 160,650. And Mr. Speaker, we sit here, we eagerly await the more recent findings, which were done for the last week in April and the beginning of May. We expect more to be added to those numbers. And we just want to say, Mr. Speaker, that for 4.5 years, the PLP government, and I'll say it again, we presided over the addition of more jobs than any other government in a 5-year term. The problem the FM now has is that they can't, they have to accept those numbers because they now come from the Department of Statistics. This, Mr. Speaker, is but a snapshot of the overall economic health of the Bahamas. It proves beyond a shadow of a doubt, Mr. Speaker, that the PLP government was about doing the people's business, doing the heavy lifting, and setting the country's economy on a firm economic footing. We accept that, as I said earlier, that the FNM did a good job of painting a different picture, for which they were able to persuade the Bahamian people. And Mr. Speaker, as I said, as we did in our previous term, we leave the FNM with an economy on the right path. This empirical and unassailable evidence paints an entirely different picture from the one painted by the FNM during their campaign rallies and during this budget debate. When one considers the protracted global economic recovery and more directly and locally the ravages and economic fallout from not one, but 2 powerful hurricanes, Joaquin and Matthew, it speaks to the prudent fiscal management of the economy by the PLP government. Simply put, we did not leave the economy in a wheelchair. We did not leave. So, Mr. Speaker, the critical question here, and I think the country will now pose to the FNM, is now that you have government, what do you intend to do? Mr. Speaker, the FNM government has a huge electoral mandate, as I said. But in this budget, I see no hope, no vision, policy, no plan for government. As I have just set out, by their own reporting, the economy is in good health. So the charge that the cupboard is bare, or that the FNM government was unaware of the state of the economy or the country's finances, is nothing more an excuse for their lack of vision and lack of inspiring hope. They offer no apology for their abandonment of key promises, and the Bahamian people are taking notes. As Lady Macbeth might have said in Shakespeare's play, "Was the hope drunk?" For these promises just a matter of saying anything to secure the vote? So once again we ask, when can the people expect the fulfillment of the promises made to them? When will Bahamians receive selective catastrophic care and the NHI? When can students expect free tuition at the University of the Bahamas? When will ordinary Bahamians receive tax reductions on bread basket items or other items? When can Bahamians expect the program that will lead to unified busing system? Mr. Speaker, member from East Kanbama, I think he mentioned bread. Bread is a bad bread basket item. Amongst many of the promises made on the campaign trail, they said they were going to cut taxes on bread basket items. I don't know what message that they intended to convey when they said that bread would now be duty-free, and that was fulfilling that message. But whatever it is, Bahamians are still awaiting when will it be that relief will be brought on bread basket items. But Speaker, as I noted, this budget brings no relief to the poor. No relief to the poor. And very interesting and coincidentally, and I guess Providence again. Yesterday, the Old Testament reading in my church was taken from Proverbs chapter 22, verses 1 through 16. Right? And it was so interesting that on Father's Day, and they invited, I happened to be the lay reader yesterday. And I wondered why I had to read that bit of scripture. And it's so interesting. Verse 1 starts off by saying, a good name is to be chosen rather than great riches. Then, I think, and then it goes on. Some of the verses, I think, would be good for some of us in here to hear. The rich and the poor have this in common. The rich and the poor has this, the rich and the poor has this in common. Yeah, the rich and the poor has this in common. Right? The Lord is the maker of us all. I'll give you another sentence. The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is the slave of the lender. Right. Those who love a pure heart and are gracious in speech will have the king as a friend. Gracious in speech. I would love a pure heart and be gracious in speech. And then, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, more importantly, and which really drew my attention and caused me to rethink what I had to say about this budget, is this verse 16. Remember? It says, oppressing the poor in order to enrich oneself, and giving to the rich, will lead only to the loss. This budget oppresses the poor and it gives to the rich. leads to loss.
35 to 4. 35 to 4.
Right? And you start off that way. And so, Mr. Speaker, let us see how they have just given to the rich. And when, as the lesson says, no giving to the rich is oppressing the poor. Right? That's the theology that we're saying. Mr. Speaker, I talk about the broken promises. It sits in sharp contrast to the proposals which they urgently commit to do now. We do know that you now propose to significantly reduce the import taxes on maintenance parts for aircraft, paint supplies, sea vessels, salmon, caviar, on parts, caviar. And Mr. Speaker, on parts for washing and drying machines. You know that? You know that? On parts for washing and drying machines. And, on asphalt. The F&M claims that proverbial cupboards were bare, and yet they seek to deprive the country of much needed revenue on these selected items. Some people, those wealthy enough to own airlines, paint supply stores, and wash houses, must now be extremely pleased that it is indeed their time. This budget offers no relief for the ordinary person. Instead, this budget washes you, presses you, cleans you up. I tell you, let's come back to you, right? It is indeed, Mr. Speaker, it is indeed the people's time. But the identities of those people are coming into sharper focus as the days go by.
Honorable member, the chair recognizes the member for Freetown.
Mr. Speaker, I rise on a point of order.
Yes, can you state your point of order?
That the honorable member is misleading the House about duty on washing machines. That the honorable member is misleading this House on the duty of washing machines. Let me explain how. Let me educate the member on how the duty system works. There's commercial equipment, commercial washers and dryers, and there's residential washers and dryers. And there's one duty rate for residential, and there's one duty rate for commercial. The commercial rate still remains at 45%. The residential rate is what they are exempting. Okay, so let's just get that clear. Superwash ain't getting no benefit from this budget. We're still paying 45%. Now, the law specifically states that equipment under 25 pounds, washers under 25 pounds, gets a rate of 5%. And equipment over 25 pounds is at 45%. Now, within Superwash, there are some that we benefited under the Progressive Liberal Party. In fact, when you all reduced the rate to 5% on residential equipment, I was delighted because I had some washers in my shops that was under 25 pounds and I got 5%. Thank you very much.
Honorable member for Cat Island.
Mr. Speaker, it's very interesting. When they told me about going fishing, sometimes they say, the only time you catch a fish is when they open their mouth. Now, the member himself has now admitted. First of all, I did not say. What I said was, so that it could be clear, was that parts for washing and drying machines we had relief on those parts. I didn't say there's going to be any relief on washing and drying machines per se. Didn't speak to that at all. So the question of commercial, a household did not arise. So I said part for washing and drying machines. That's what I spoke about. Right? I didn't speak, that's what I spoke about. That's the first point I make, right? First point I make, right? And obviously, I don't, the abstract that I have, having looked at the tariff bill, and I go to, I think it's 84.50 on go to the tariff list. It speaks to part for drying machines of subheading 84514. So parts for drying and washing machines. There's no distinction being made in the documents that I've read and seen. So I do appreciate, yes, there's a distinction made of commercial and household, but in the context of what is relief is being given today, there is no distinction. No distinction is being made. And he has just accepted that he will be getting some benefits on this because he does have in his stores machines that are commercial. That's what he said. That's why I say, you only catch a fish when they open them up, right? So that's what I said, right? Yeah. And so that is what I'm saying. So, Mr. Speaker, I find it curious, Mr. Speaker, I go further. I find it curious that this government extended the tax exemptions on importation of art. They extended that exemption, but conveniently discontinued the tax exemptions on building materials for residential commercial properties in the many vulnerable and challenged inner city communities. But when Mr. Speaker, the exemption for importation of art was introduced for a limited period. It expires at the end of this fiscal year. Likewise, at that time, the government introduced for the over-the-hill community and the depressed areas a limited tax exemption for construction, renovation, and repairs of residential premises. A form of our government, and that too was to expire the end of the fiscal period. They didn't see fit to extend this, which will help the inner city and the people, right? But they extended it to the importation of art. Mr. Speaker, so I asked the question, why would they break the promise of removing taxes for the overhill communities? They could have just extended what we had in place. Now, Mr. Speaker, let us take a look at rebates on business license fees. The member from St. Barnabas here? Yeah. Mr. Speaker, if you have a business and your turnover is less than $50,000, this budget ain't for you. If you have a business and your turnover is above $50,000 but less than $500,000, this budget ain't for you. If your business is above $500,000, if you're above $500,000 but less than $5 million, again, this budget is not for you. If your turnover, Mr. Speaker, is above $5 million but less than $50 million, equally, the budget is not for you. Now, Mr. Speaker, if you have a business and your turnover is $50 million per annum or more, then this budget is for you. Speaker, it's regrettable that after all the talk of the people's time, that small struggling businessman that the member for St. Barnabas spoke about in Rock Crusher, who's complaining about how taxes were crippling him, how he snowed under and couldn't receive no help. Well, you could tell him that this budget ain't for him. There's no relief being given to him.
They could have extended that
I,
exemption.
I say again, Mr. Speaker, I say again, Mr. Speaker, as the days and weeks go by, the identities of the people are indeed coming into sharper focus. In fact, Mr. Speaker, one of these people identified himself publicly. He was publicly bragging that his company will enjoy savings of some $444,000 as a result of this amendment. You might have seen that. I was able to speak to one other person who said that their business makes no more than $50 million. And he claims that they probably have savings of over $500,000 as a result. Now, they say they ain't asked for it, but they welcome it. So, Mr. Speaker, we only need to ask ourselves how many businesses in this country have a turnover of $50 million per annum. One has identified itself. Will others follow suit? I suspect that their members in this House may be involved in such businesses. Will they honor themselves? I don't know. Anybody scream? You have scream? Hear somebody scream? Really? Mr. Speaker, you know, there's another thing, another point, right? I said, Mr. Speaker. I said, Mr. Speaker, those not talking now. I can say anything. You know, I'm not frightening anyone. Mr. Speaker, I want to remind members here. I identified some things that will be getting tax breaks, tax relief. And I just would like to join the number for Angus in reminding persons in this House that if they have any pecuniary interest that they may have in subject matters that would benefit their interest, they need to declare it. And it does not need, they don't need to do it, you don't have to be direct, you know, to be indirect. For example, if you plan to reduce taxes on paint supply and your children have a major shareholding in it, then maybe you should tell us that. You should declare it, right? And you have local industry. I get that later. The broader question, though, Mr. Speaker, are these. Broader question are these. Firstly, how will ordinary working families, ordinary Bahamians, benefit from this budget? Trickle-down economics have never worked in the Bahamas, as the benefits never reach the wallet of the ordinary person. My second question is this. If the proverbial cupboards are bare, as the member of East Grand Bahamas said, then why is the government finding it necessary to offer such generous tax rebates to the wealthy and those most able to pay taxes? It will be of interest to know what factors were taken into account when the decision was taken, and whether any representations were made by any of the businesses with turnover over $50 million. When the F&M says it's the people's time, we are constrained to ask, who are these people? Just see who they are now taking care of. Then I think the answer may be in that. Because when I was discussing the state of the health, when we were just sounding as it was a vital sign, indicators of whether the health economy is healthy. You know, there was a lot of scream, downgrade. Now, Mr. Speaker, on this much talk about this, I think the record will show that two prevailing factors that contributed to the downgrade, as acknowledged by the one rating agency that did the downgrade, were external forces that were beyond the control of the government. So they just need to look at the report of Standard & Poor's, and they'll see what those two external factors were. And you'll see that they were not within the control of the government, direct control of the government. It was Hurricane Joaquin and Hurricane Matthew that necessitated a sharp increase in public expenditure. It resulted in a sharp decline in government revenue, coupled with temporary tax exemptions, as the government and any government would never expect to also do the same, work assiduously to facilitate post-hurricane affairs, assist businesses, and return the lives of tens of thousands of Bahamians to some semblance of normalcy. That was the first factor. The second factor was the bankruptcy filing of Bahamas on the 29th of June 2015. The subsequent loss of jobs and the negative impact it had on the future economic prospects for the country. The FM's accusation that the Christie government interfered with the bankruptcy and in so doing delayed the opening of Bahamas is complete nonsense. The fact is, the bankruptcy filing failed, and Judge Kevin Carey in Delaware threw out the case. And he ruled that Bahamas was a Bahamian asset, and as such had to be adjudicated in the Bahamas. That's what the bankruptcy court said in Delaware. Some of the reasoning that I find favorable for that outcome is that, it would have been wrong to expect thousands of Bahamians who were owed money had been left stranded. It would be wrong for them to expect them to travel to Delaware to try to sue a Bahamian company for money which was owed to them in the Bahamas. The successful intervention of the Christie administration to get to the displaced employees and unsecured creditors paid, to secure a new owner with world-class credentials, to complete the project, and to open Bahamas in less than 2 years was because of strong, determined, and decisive leadership. Bankruptcy experts call it a miracle, and those of us who would have been involved or know anything about bankruptcy or liquidation will lend their voice to that statement and assertion. The PLP stands by its decisions on Bahamas as the right decision on behalf of the people of the Bahamas. So, Mr. Speaker, those two major factors greatly influence the decision of Standard & Poor's to downgrade the country's sovereign credit rating. Those two factors. They were not in the control of the hurricanes were acts of God. The filing of bankruptcy was a decision taken by the developer who adopted that approach for his reasons. And I would not just look at those. They were the factors that influenced the decision of Standard & Poor's to downgrade the country's sovereign credit rating. Standard & Poor's believed that there would have been no positive economic impact on Bahamas. They did not believe that Bahamas would have opened as was projected. And they believed that the adverse impact of it not opening would have continued through 2018. Just need to read the report. That was their belief. Now, what the FNM, which they don't, they talk about it down, but they don't like to mention, that there is another rating agency, Moody's. They did not downgrade the Bahamas. They took, in their view, a wait-and-see approach. The Christie government agreed with Moody's. The Christie government, we agreed with the Moody's and disagreed with Standard & Poor's. The economic projections, Mr. Speaker, supplied by the IMF clearly show that the positive economic impact of Bahamas would be felt in 2017 and to a greater extent in 2018. Speaker, the Christie government and Moody's got it right. So, member for East Grand Bahamas, you should be alarmed about your collateral calls and postings. No, you shouldn't be. Right? It's pegged to the ratings. And it is clear that the country is on the right direction for upgrades. Unless, of course, you fumble the ball and mismanage the country going forward. That's all I can say. That's what I say. It's all there. The foundation's been laid. Now, if what I speak to is facts. Facts. If you fumble the ball, you don't manage the country well going forward, then you should be concerned about your collateral and your posting. All right? Speaker, I'd be remiss if I don't just speak briefly about light industry. Right? I invite the government to look at these rebates that they intend to give. But I suggest it will have an adverse effect on the ever-evolving, but nonetheless challenged light industries in the Bahamas. The reduction in rate of duty on paint, for example, toilet paper to name a few, this is damning. And they also intend to think in the agricultural products there's some reductions as well. It doesn't speak well to incentivize the agricultural sector. So I ask you also to look at that as well. And so the light industry and the farming industry being put at peril by what is now intended in this budget. Manufacturing is directly related to market scale. And unless consideration is given to these entrepreneurs who must compete against all odds, this government will eliminate this sector of our economy. And what is also important, I think, for consideration is that, the local manufacturing industry has always complained that, governments appear to be changing every 5 years. And every 5 years, things seem to change. And it makes it difficult for them to plan. And it's been troubling them for quite a while. So I urge the government to revisit these adjustments on duties, particularly for those items that are manufactured locally. And if it is the people's right, I just want to remind them that these light manufacturing entities, they hire the people. And they employ people locally, unlike the foreign manufacturers, who in some instances employ robots. Speaker, the vexingly high cost of electricity, coupled with an unreliable electrical grid, and equally unreliable power generation plants, continue to negatively impact the quality of life of our people and the competitiveness of our national economy. And the paradigm shift is necessary. Over the past 5 years, there's been a 40% decrease in the cost of electricity to DPL consumers, and the establishment of a new energy policy Speaker, leading up to the election, discussions were being held in respect to a major intervention that I think would transform the energy sector in line with the country's national energy policy. And I think it would accrue enormous benefits to the Bahamas. I urge the government that touts its belief that it is the people's plan to move ahead with that plan that was recommended to us by the subcommittee technically, and that I think it may be for you for review. The member for Bamboo Town, I know sometime recently, spoke to his strong support for energy independence. So I rather came from that issue. I hope that you bring his support to bear to see that this is true. As former Prime Minister once said, you plant, I reap. So those things that we have planted, nurture them well. There's harvest to be, there's much harvest, and there'll be a harvest for you to reap once you tend it properly and grown properly and get it done. I think this is one of those matters that's been planted that you ought to embrace. And of course, it falls within your commitment. You have committed to the national development tool called the Public-Private Sector Partnership, where the private sector plays critical fiscal and technical roles in facilitating public infrastructure development, which could relieve much of the financial burden that past and successive governments have had to singularly shoulder in these endeavors. And so, again, it's something that is, I say, in line with your commitments and policies. And I think, I said, without going into details, the Bahamas do stand to accrue enormous benefits from this proposal. And I invite you all to continue and look at it in a very deliberative way. Speaker, Grand Bahama delivered 5 seats to governing African Party. Huh? Yeah. Their hopes are high. The Grand Bahamians' hopes are high, and rightly so. It is regrettable and inexcusable that there is nothing positive in the budget for Grand Bahama. Repealing the Investment Incentive Act has been touted, and attending regulations, in our view, will negatively impact the economy of Grand Bahama, as it will represent a return to the status quo. Status quo brought Grand Bahama into the economic malaise that the island currently finds itself. And to debunk the charge that the PLP did nothing for Grand Bahama, which is patently false, I just mentioned a few. Memories and its joint venture with the Sunwing Travel Group out of Canada was the economic impetus Freeport needed to facilitate its turnaround. Additionally, the PLP expended over $100 million in the Grand Bahama community, which no doubt was an economic stimulus to that island. Obviously, Hurricane Matthew had other plans. The island is in need of new capital injection, and the proposed Carnival Cruise Port earmarked for East Grand Bahama will achieve just that. Again, we have planted. Please read. This was achieved against trade-off. The F&M government gave Hutchinson Whampoa exclusive rights for any port development on the island of Grand Bahama. This policy decision was a barrier to economic growth on that island. We secured a waiver through protracted negotiations with the principals in Grand Bahama. And all that is left is for the F&M to see this project through. Grand Bahama is also in need of new ownership of the major hotel properties. We achieved that with the proposed sale of the 3 major Lukai hotel properties to the Steve Wynn Group out of Canada. Again, we have planted. Please read. When we left office, negotiations were in the advanced stages. It is also in the best interest of Grand Bahama if the F&M sees this project through. Mr. Speaker, having said that, we've seen no plans by the F&M for the economic revival of Grand Bahama. Hence, I ask that you read what we have planted. I reiterate and caution the F&M against the repeal of the Investment Incentive Act, as it is a return to the economic stagnation that was the status quo. Further, there's no proposed legislation in the legislative budgetary package, and which I'm glad to see. I'm glad to see that there is no legislation in the legislative budgetary package which signals a pause on this issue, which I welcome. I don't see that you all intend to do it at this time, and so I welcome that. Mr. Speaker, as the House is well aware, a number of assertions were made by the Honourable Member for Garden Hills, who happens to be the State Minister for Public Service and National Insurance. The suggestion that 6,500 new public service workers were hired during the past 5 years is misleading on its face. Thousands.
Honourable Member, the chair recognizes the member for Garden Hill.
Mr. Speaker, the member.
Point of order.
My point of order is this member is once again seeking to mislead the House, even though you sent this information to a committee of privilege. And I could make comments about the 6,500 additional employees that the PLP hired. But I would respectfully reserve those comments until the committee is reported. And I don't think that the member should be making any commentary about those numbers until the committee is reported.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Member for Cat Island, I do recall that this matter had been sent on to the Committee for Privilege.
Let them preclude me from speaking to it.
If you are indeed disputing the figures, it will preclude you.
I'm saying, first of all, he indicated I'm misleading the House. I don't know how he can say. I'm saying the suggestion that 6,500 new public service workers were hired during the past 5 years is misleading on the face of it. That's what I said. On the face of it. That's what I said.
Yes. So
on the face of it. I'm saying on the face of it, it's misleading. Thousands of workers, and I could now move to say why I say that.
No, honourable member, with respect to the matter that has been sent on to the committee, the chair would prefer for the committee to report before the issue is further discussed and even provoke further debate prior to the committee reporting. So the chair, in this instance, would order that any reference to the figures as it relates to the presentation by the member for Garden Hills be expunged from the record. Honorable member for...
I'm not to deal with figures.
You can make reference to the statement or the presentation by the Honorable Minister, but with respect to any matter that has been sent on to the committee for privilege, we prefer that the committee reports.
What I say is that the member spoke to hiring in the public service. But I wish to make a distinction that thousands of workers were hired in a uniform brand over the last 5 years, but not in the public service. And the minister failed to make that distinction. I wish further to say that any number of persons would have retired, resigned, died, or terminated, and simply replaced during this period. Could I say those things?
The chair recognizes the member for Garden Hills.
I just need a point of clarification, Mr. Speaker. I want to know if the members say that
the point of clarification is it respect to your speech and your statement?
It is in respect to my statement, Mr. Speaker. I'm standing by my word. The 6,500 persons were hired in the public service, and I'm not rebutting.
The rules provide that if there is some misunderstanding with respect, we have two members standing, can vote with respect to a statement or communication to this Parliament. Once there is a misunderstanding or misrepresentation of that communication, the member has a right to stand and to clarify that position. In the instance this morning, it is distinguished because the member for Exuma and Ragged Island was attempting to get clarification on a matter that did not concern his presentation. And that is the distinguishing element. The chair recognizes the member for Exuma and Ragged Island.
Speaker, it would be greatly appreciated, Mr. Speaker.
Are you on a point of order?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
What is your point of order?
My point, Mr. Speaker, is that on the issue of points of clarification.
There's no issue of points of clarification, honorable member.
Mr. Speaker.
The only two instances that you can rise and interrupt is on a point of order or on a point of privilege.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
What is the point of order?
My point of order is with respect to the application of the rules, Mr. Speaker. With respect to the application of the rules, Mr. Speaker.
Which rule are you referring
to? Notably, the member for Elizabeth stood on a point of clarification with respect to a matter being presented by the leader of the opposition.
No.
However, Mr. I'm only asking.
Honorable member.
I'm only asking for balance application of the rules.
Let me state so that you could have a full appreciation of what I just said with respect to the member of Garden Hills. When the member for Elizabeth requested by notice to clarify a position based on the receipt of evidence that wasn't in his possession at the time, he was seeking to clarify a position based on his comments and his presentation. That's all he was doing. He was seeking to clarify his statement. That is permissible by the rules. What is not permissible is for a member to rise to clarify or to seek clarification or to rebut or dispute someone else's statement or remarks. And that is the distinguishing factor.
May I, Mr. Speaker?
The chair recognizes the member for Exuma and Ragged Island.
As a new member to this honorable chamber, with the greatest respect to the chair.
Don't use those words, please.
Mr. Speaker, I'm only pointing out, Mr. Speaker, that as a new member who represents the great constituency of Exuma and Ragged Island, I would be grateful if there is uniform application of the rules with respect to points of clarification.
But honorable member, I just simply gave you the example what distinguished what the member for Elizabeth did than what you had done initially and what any other member would be doing if they are trying to seek to rise on a point of clarification or to dispute or rebut a statement made by another member. That is fairly clear. The chair recognizes the member for Angleston.
I just want to say it's a fine line. I'm just trying to appreciate the difference between a point of clarification or in terms of what is being misunderstood, what the member is saying misunderstands what that member said. I think that's what you said. Where a presentation or the content has been misunderstood or misrepresented. That's the point you made?
The point, yes. The point I'm making is that with respect to the only two instances when a member should rise and interrupt another member is on a point of order or a point of privilege. Points of clarification, however, are permissible if the member not only if the member yields. If a member makes a presentation and he feels that the speaking member has somehow misunderstood or misrepresenting what was presented, he is able to rise to clarify the statement that he made.
Okay, thank you.
And that is the distinguishing factor.
The only point I would raise is where the line goes between doing that and what is being a rebuttal. And that's the concern I have, because you've indicated you cannot rebut. But I'm just want to highlight that fine distinction, Mr. Speaker, so that when we get into it, that we don't facilitate someone to rebut in the course of seeking a clarification. That's the point I made.
Yes.
Thank you.
And let me just add before the member for Cat Island takes his feet again, that in the process of rebuttals or instances where someone just may disagree or have a different opinion, those instances will be denied by the chair, and particularly by members who have already spoken once to a matter, and the attempt at rebuttal or in offering a second opinion gives you the presenter or the member a second or third or fourth attempt to speak on the matter that is before the Parliament, when the rules specifically state that you can only speak to a question once. And so any attempt to do that, any perceived attempt by the chair will not permit it. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Cat Island, Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would move on from the matter of the public service hiring. I think said what I had to say in relation to it.
Yes.
Another matter that the Speaker recalled that during the discussion on the question of the privilege matter that you put to the committee, I indicated then that that there is some pattern that seems to be creeping into our discourse that that leads to misleading and even saying things that are not true. And I would just point to, I'd be remiss if I allow the member from the Central Grand Parliament here, who spoke to two matters, one of which misleading, the other of which was patently untrue. I took the liberty of obtaining the handcard of exactly what he had to say. So I was, in short, I would myself would not be being full and frank. And Speaker, one of the things that the government has sufficient, and I commend this to all of them. There's one thing to look at the facts and then interpret those facts by whatever moral standing you may have, whatever. And you could come up with your own views and opinions on those facts. I have no issue with that. But get the facts straight. And then give those facts. And then give your views on them. I have no challenge with that. Right? And so, for example, the member from Freetown, he they have this new thing called alternative facts, and they seem to be engaged in a lot of that. But let's get the facts, and then yes, if you want to tell a story, your own story on those same facts, you don't have no problem with it. But then I could give you my story on those facts as well. I think that's only fair. That's all right. But please don't distort the facts. Don't create your facts. Don't say you fire a board when you don't even fire them. And if you're not even fired, you know you did it because there's written material that you could get documented. Right? You don't do those things. Because you have the information and you know it is not true. So the speaker, and so the member from Central Grand Bahamas, and you see what's the more for him in giving his contribution in respect to these two items. He clothed what he had to say with the authority and experience of his background and profession as an architect, and the fact that he used to work in the Ministry of Works, all the more. So he knows the system, he knows how it works. And he speaks of these two matters. He spoke about the new junior high school in Holmes Rock, West Grand Bahamas. And he says that it's the same school, same design, prototype system, very similar to the school in Grand Bahamas. That's what he says. So, then he says the Holmes Rock School is costing twice as much. You know that ain't true. Check the record, and you find out that that's not true. Right? And the difference, he could check the record, and I'm sure that the engineers and the technical people could give them the reason for any difference in the price. Right? So that is it. Right? Then he goes on to say the contract was split between two contractors. guess how you put it, 2 contractors on the same site, building the same school at the same time, and he could find this undesirable and question who would have advised the former administration to enter into such a strange setup. Because again, remember, he had the information. He knew that there's much precedent in what has happened. He knew, for example, that Sister Mary Patricia School was split. You know, that school was built with one school, built by 2 contractors on the same site. No problem. He's aware of that. And it produced the school. And he talked about the cost, right? As though the fact that you have 2, conveying the impression that because you split it between 2 contractors, the cost went up. But again, he knows that the cost of construction, that's a matter that is settled by the technical team. Like I say, he knows this. He spoke about him being, he's an architect. He knows about it. He worked in the ministry. He knows how these things work. He knows that the costs of these things are settled by the technical team. And in most instances, and I think in this particular instance, it would have been settled by an independent quantity surveyor. Right? So no, 2 builders. No, 2 builders. But he said that's something strange with that. I want to tell him, but the same school that was prototype, there was 2 builders too. There were 2 builders, right? There were 2 builders, right? 2 builders, all right? So that's what I'm saying. I know. Do you know who the 2 builders were for Sister Mary? I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I know. The same way Sister Mary Patricia was built, it's being built. The only difference in this one is that my recollection is that I insisted that there be one project manager for that school, right, to be employed by both contractors, and that project manager had to have the sanction of the technical persons of my ministry to make sure. Yeah, the ministry. Yeah. No, the ministry works. The ministry works. Yeah, the ministry. Yeah. What are we saying? How do you want to? The same way it happened in Sister Mary Patricia, it happened same that I put in a bit more controls, I think.
You were directly involved.
So all I'm saying, what I'm saying is that you can look at the facts and you could tell a story, but tell the facts. I only want the fact to be told that there was in fact a precedent on this, and they'll do it. And so, and then, Mr. Speaker, the other matter he spoke to, and I said, in respect to this, I say the statement was false. The member referred to the government complex in 8 Mile Rock, and clearly enunciating his words. That's what he said. Clearly enunciating his words, he said on May 9th, 2017, and before the dawning of the historic May 10th, 2017, a contract was signed for approximately $23 million, bringing into force a PPP initiative. And he went on to say, upon signing of this contract, the government of the Bahamas issued an advance payment of $4.4 million under the guise of interest. That's what he said. I got the hand start. The reason why I got the hand start is because Carmichael was denying it. He's saying he ain't say that. But he was greatest respect. Yeah, but the greatest respect, I think he was trying to protect the member at the time. Right? But that's why I went to the Hansard, so that it could not be. I know what I heard, I knew what I wrote, but I wanted to get the official record of what was fact said. And the minister knows that was a lie. Sorry, it was untrue. And Not that only that the minister knew, the member, I think the member himself knew that was untrue when he stated it. Right? Because, Mr. Speaker, that would have been abominable, to say the least, that you sign a contract on the 9th of May.
Member for Central,
and then
are you
give
signing on the point of
$4.4 million upon the signing of the contract.
Honorable member?
I rise on a point of order, Rule 33.7b. I seek to clarify my statement. While the member from Cat Island is quoting a portion of my contribution, I did speak clearly when I referred to the school that I agree that inflation and other unforeseen costs contribute to the inflation in construction costs. I never denied that there weren't extenuating factors that would cause the price to be more than $5 million, which would have equaled the value of the St. Mary Patricia prototype school. It is strange that the member would pick on certain portions and would not mention the fact that I did explain that there are certain factors, including inflation, that would inflate the cost, increase the cost. Secondly, with respect to the government compound, yes, I did say clearly that a contract was signed on May 9th, not month, not weeks, not days, but hours before, and I'm prepared to table it. I have copies of the contract that I'm prepared to table. And that is not a rebuttal. I seek to clarify it
Honorable
because
member,
he's speaking to, sorry.
Honorable member, the contract that you make reference to, do you have that, and are you prepared to table it?
Point about Mr. Speaker. Yeah. If the member see, that's a rebuttal.
Hold on, honorable member. Honorable member, both, resume your seats, please. The member for Central Grand Bahama was bringing clarification to the point there is contribution that you were challenging. He is entitled to bring clarification.
He's not entitled to rebut what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. What he's saying is not clarification. He's not saying how I misrepresent anything he said. He is saying, Mr. Speaker,
Honorable member,
Mr. Speaker, he is saying that I did not quote something. That's not what my contribution is about. He said it's not misrepresenting. I discussed what I took issue with as misleading.
Honorable member.
And if he's saying that he didn't say that, then that's another matter. Or he meant something else, what he said then, that's clarification. Is he saying he meant something else? That's not clarification.
All right, let me just understand the point that you're making so I can make a determination. You made the point that he, in his presentation, indicated that there was a contract signed on the 9th of May. So are you disputing the date of the contract, or are you accepting that date? Because my understanding from the chair is simply that the date of the contract is an issue.
No, I never said it. I never said.
So the date of the contract is not an issue?
No, it's an issue.
Okay, proceed. Proceed then, Honorable Member for Cat Island.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, you see, Mr. Speaker, that's not an issue. The issue I raise is that upon I said the issue I raised is this: upon signing of this contract, which was the 9th of May, upon signing of this contract, the government of the Bahamas issued an advance payment of $4.4 million under the guise of interest. He's saying in his statement that the contract was signed on the 9th, and on the 9th, this money was paid. That's what he said. I'm saying that is patently untrue. No funds were paid on the 9th of May. I'm also saying that he knew that when he was making his contribution. He knew that.
Honorable Member, Central Grand Bahama, on a point of order.
Point of order. Again, I refer to the initial rule and I'm speaking to the school first, by picking through my speech. He is seeking to mislead the House because had he referred to the part about inflation and extenuating circumstances, no, that would have clarified exactly why the cost of the second school at the same size is more expensive than the first one. And again, speaking to the contract that was signed on May the 9th, according to documents that I have, that I'm prepared to table, it speaks to the fact that the government, upon signing of this agreement, is to pay $4,400,000 on this. She'll pay that. It is here. It is here. It is in the contract. It is in the contract. It is in the and I'm prepared to table my contract.
Honorable members, the chair recognizes the member for Cat Island.
Speaker, first of all, let me just grant, so I can carry it to where we wish, right? Let me agree with the member. Yeah, and it's all over the radio. Yeah. Unless, Mr. Speaker, the official record.
Honorable member.
Mr. Speaker, the
honorable member.
Mr. Speaker,
Island.
Speaker, let me just say this. Right? Let me say this. The official record of what is said in this House that is what is in the Hansard. I obtained a copy of that Hansard because I was concerned that I would ensure that I not only heard the member correctly, but what he said was recorded and it reflects my memory of what was said. And that's what I did. So I have the Hansard transcripts. Now, first of all, it is true that the member said, I must agree that inflation and other unforeseen costs contribute to increase in costs. But that's not my issue. He accepts that, right? But he then goes on to say, I am bewildered. Well, if he understands that, why would he be bewildered? Because he's still questioning the cost. I am bewildered that Holmes Rock School is costing twice as much as to construct that of Sister Mary Patricia School. And we are following that prototype. So, Mr. Speaker, he still, though he accepts some of the factors that may contribute to an increased cost, he's still bewildered by it being cost twice as much. And that's the point I make.
But does it necessarily cost make it twice as much, though?
And that's the point I make. The point I make, it doesn't make it twice as much. But Mr. Speaker, what I'm saying...
Address the chair, please.
Mr. Speaker, what I'm saying is that he is questioning the cost. The point here is he questions the cost, and it is his right. But he could have found the answer right in the ministry, and if he wanted thereafter to comment on it, he could have done so, instead of attempting to mislead this House to suggest that something was wrong with the costing. And that's the bottom line, and to recognize, as he well knows, that costing resides with the technical grouping that advises on those matters. It's either done in-house and independently as well, as in that particular case. Now, Mr. Speaker, I go back to the more egregious matter that had social media, the radio waves, talk shows, all up in arms, and rightly so, if it was true. Rightly so, right? Now, he said, let me read what he said from the Hansard, Mr. Speaker, so there'll be no question as what he said. He says, I note, Mr. Speaker, in clearly enunciating these words, it wasn't months, nor weeks, or days, they said, for the Pure House, I guess that's what he said, but it says Pure House, on the 9th of May 2017, and before the dawning of the historic May 10, 2017, that a contract was signed for approximately $23 million, bringing into force the PPP initiative. To be exact, $22,810,000. That's one paragraph of what is extracted. Then he goes on. However, upon signing of this contract, the government of the Bahamas issued an advance payment of $4.4 million under the guise of interest that is assigned. This is indeed perplexing, Mr. Speaker. And that's, I mean, if this is true, I can say some more terrible words than what he just used to protect me. But it's not true. No funds were advanced under the contract that was signed on the 9th, right, which was a formalization of an arrangement that had been some time ago, right? And Mr. Speaker, right? So Mr. Speaker, as I said, this is not only false, but it's also misleading. Mr. Speaker, firstly, and the facts are there. They can just pull the files and see what it is. Firstly, a consultancy agreement for that project was executed for project architectural design was executed from in February 2014, almost 2 years before that. Plans for the construction, they were all approved in December 2014. Right? For the financing of this project, the government then decided to engage in a 3P investment and construction, and discussions were held to consummate such an arrangement, which was consummated in November 2016, when a binding memorandum of understanding was entered into and executed between the parties, under which a schedule of payments were settled. And those payments were made according to that memorandum of understanding. All that is in the files. The minister could have seen it. But what he does, contract was signed on the 9th of May. Something fishy about that. Right? It was signed on the 9th of May, I'm told. Right? Well, I'm just saying, but he's saying payment was made of $4.4 million at that time. Right? And so, Mr. Speaker, when was it paid?
Months before.
Right, Mr. Speaker, in January. Mr. Speaker, listen to what I said. There's no oil contract. Mr. Speaker, listen to what I'm saying, Mr. Speaker. In November 2016, a binding...
Honorable members, the member is still on his feet, making its contribution. Continue.
In November 2016, a binding memorandum of understanding was executed between the parties. So there was an agreement that was executed in November 2016. There was a formalization of the arrangement that was left for the lawyers. Right? And that is what happened. That's not unusual. It was not unusual. Right? As a result of that memorandum of understanding, in January, $2.2 million was paid. In March, $1.2 was paid. Right? And March, 1.2 and another $1 million was paid, which added up to 4.4. Right? Yeah. And what was before Parliament is not true. That's the point, Mr. Speaker. And he had this information. So, Mr. Speaker, you should decide now what consequences should follow. He knows that, right? Right?
So you got paid.
Listen, you see, I wouldn't even talk to these people who wouldn't appreciate it. I took that on. Speaker.
Honorable members, please.
Let me not be distracted. I withdraw that. Mr. Speaker, just let me say this, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me just say this, right? For those who don't appreciate or understand, right? One does not have to have a signed contract, right, to be obligated to do anything. It don't have to be signed.
It should do.
Right? Right? Mr. Speaker, in this instance, there was a signed arrangement, which was it's in effect a contract. Yeah. Right? There's a formalization arrangement that had to be done, but it was signed and commitment was made by all parties. and those payments were made. What I'm saying here, Mr. Speaker, is not that, as I said, whatever the facts, you could look at the facts, and yes, you can say, well, maybe you should have signed a contract. You could have a signed contract before you pay. That's a fair comment they might make. But what I'm saying is that you don't lie to this Parliament and say
Honorable member.
No, I didn't say. Yeah, withdraw. Yeah, I withdraw. That.
Okay, that word is also expunged from the record.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, you don't come to this Parliament and tell Parliament, give Parliament information that money was paid on the eve of the election, 4.4 million, when in fact it was not true.
Misled Parliament. He misled the Parliament.
It was not true.
Not true.
And he should be made to correct that. Mr. Speaker, you know, and this, you know, like I said, you know, we're on the rally stage, and the rally and the political posturing and gesturing, and it's behind us. And the wild comments, let's put that aside, right? Let's get to the people's business, right? And so, for example, Mr. Speaker, I hear much talk about the possible impending payment of $40 million, including subventions to Bahamas Air. Mr. Speaker, when the decision was made to acquire the ATR, by that time, and I could specifically say, in 2013 or 15, the 5-8 owned by Bahamas, there were 985 incidents recorded on those 5 aircraft. Sufficient that, and it was mounting. Prior to that was just for that year, and it was set the challenge. Each of those aircrafts had some challenges with hydraulics and with cracking. So it was critical to change fleet. In addition, they had almost outlived their what they call life cycles, or fast approaching. The cost of just maintaining them was continually increasing and increasing. I'm happy to report that when Bahamas Air was placed in my portfolio in 2012, the subvention that the government was paying was some $30 million to Bahamas Air. Through a lot of efforts, we were able to, and one of the inspiring factors that was considered in acquiring the 5 aircraft was that we were able to reduce subvention from $30 million down to $14 million, despite the fact the government was putting taxes on Bahamas Air, you know, like VAT and other customs. We were still able to bring it down to $14 million. When we looked at the future prospect of the airline, and recognizing what government responsibilities were to national airline, right? It made sense to curb the escalating costs to acquire the ATRs. Now, I must say that if it is possible to rework some of the fundamentals of the loan, that would be more advantageous to the airline. Because the present conditions, I think, could be worked out. But at the end of the day, I think it was the right decision to make. And even if you were to look at the supposed 40 million, if you look at that in the context of what the subvention was in 2012, of about 30 million, and if you look at where it could have been today without any intervention, you'll probably be paying subventions of over 40 million. So you're basically where you are with the prospect of being on the right path to having a healthy airline going forward. Right? And so that is, I thought I ought to make that intervention to encourage the further discussion, because the airline is on a footing headed toward profitability, and I think, I think so, yeah. But no, I go into details of it, because the records are right there. I hope the minister will at least listen to some of the technical people there. That's your role, and you'll understand that I think you will be headed in the right direction with Bahamas here. Mr. Speaker, the national, I'd like to speak a bit about the National Development Plan. Speaker, the successive government, speaking for untold time, have just been as we're shooting from the hip. There's no real national plan as to what be, no plan to which both parties, bipartisan, could really buy into and have as a overarching yardstick to promote going forward, promote the country going forward. I know this one. So, Mr. Speaker, I say as significant as the National Development Plan is to the future and sustained development of a country, I am particularly surprised that there is no mention of this national and non-partisan group. We ask the following question. Without a National Development Plan, what data is the government going to rely on to inform public policy? I was happy to see, I think one of the members did speak to the National Development Plan in discussing some of the things was going through his mind in his approach to his ministry. But what strategies and policies are they working toward? How is any of what they propose contributing to national development? And I suspect before the budget process, I think a representative from the side opposite will provide some detailed answers on these important public interest questions. If nothing else, within the National Development Plan, you will find a bold vision, well-researched policies, and a sustainable, credible plan going forward. Mr. Speaker, the number for Angleston attempted to lay on the table the agreement as she knows it to be, though she only have a draft copy of it, as between the United States, the FAA government and our government with respect to the flight information region. And I think that's a tremendous effort. again, the seeds have been planted. In fact, I think all you need now is to harvest the fruit from the trees that planted from them. Right? Yeah. And let me just say, let me declare an interest. Right? Back in 2002, between 2003, 2004, 5, I represented a company called Intelcare, a Canadian great eye government entity that provided the service and management services of airspace around the region and in some one or two Commonwealth countries. And they were interested in doing that work for the Bahamas. And they had engaged me to pursue the matter. And so I became very familiar. That's when the whole issue of the FIR came to my attention. I became got myself familiarized with it. And I was, in fact, at that time, pushing the government to look at it. In fact, I recall that in one of the budget debates, it was foreshadowed that they expected to get at least $50 million from this area, but there were challenges there. The member of Angliston was very anxious to get some idea of this. My recollection is that they even traveled to look into how best to resolve this. But of course, by 2007, we were relieved of our duties, and we all were hired. During that period, I recall myself making representations to the then government to pursue that process. I remember public statements being made by the then Minister of Tourism, Parliamentary Wallace, that it can't happen. The Americans think never give it. We won't even broach the subject. The Prime Minister himself at that time indicated that could never happen. But it has happened. And there's this view, and to correct any view, this is a historic arrangement. This arrangement was an arrangement that was entered into by the British government and the FAA, the United States government, back in 1956 or 58. That is when that arrangement was entered into. Right? And it was entered into, and it was left with them. So the British government ceded our airspace to the FAA back from the 50s. And from then they were managing our airspace. Now, we have just recently signed, after all of the, that we should give member for Angliston some credit. All right? I know, John. Listen, man. I don't worry about jobs. I mean, the job is a people job. And they'll hire you, or they'll hire you, or they'll fire you. That's true about that. Right? I don't worry about that. Right? So what I'm just saying, right, is so you can give her credit because she was assiduous, she was tenacious, and she really represented the Bahamas, a country. Well, and it wasn't easy because don't forget now, the FAA themselves, it means that they'll be having to downsize to be able to release this management services to us. Right? Now, we don't have the capacity. We don't have the capacity. No, yeah, I'm saying we don't have the capacity. We don't have the capacity, technical or otherwise, at the moment to do so. And so, no. And so we. So I just wanted to let's put the record let's make sure the record is clear on this. The current arrangements for the control of the Bahamas airspace and flight information region were entered into between the British government and the government of the United States, and that was prior to the Bahamas becoming an independent nation. As I said, my recollection, it was around late 50s. It was only in recent years, under our administration, the PLC administration, that any notable progress has been made in negotiations with the U.S. government towards coming to mutually acceptable arrangements on the sovereign rights of the Bahamas to control its airspace. Towards that end, both parties have been working towards a 10-year contract under which the FAA would manage the Bahamas airspace at a cost to be agreed, while the Bahamas would collect fees from the use of its airspace. The seeds have been planted. Yes, throughout the brief. And glory in your weeping. An agreement was recently executed which exempts Bahamas Air and all the other Bahamian carriers from payment of fees to the FAA with respect to their operations within the Bahamas. Wasn't that an achievement? Did we not congratulate the members? Oh, we do it all the time. Both.
He's greater than us.
Both ICAO.
Very, very smart.
Both the ICAO and U.S. authorities have indicated their willingness to also assist the Bahamas in negotiations with neighboring countries for the delineation of our expanded airspace, because they only had a very restricted area. See, the negotiations that we were engaged in even expand our territory. It's going to be more than what they have been looking at over the last 50 plus years. And it's going to require some negotiations with our neighboring, like Turks and Caicos, Cuba. Right? And so, yeah. Right? And so all that is still part of the arrangement. So we have to thank. And so this agreement, again, give credit. The agreement is yet another giant step, right? The Bahamas has taken in its quest to strengthen its sovereignty and independence. And so it is our hope that the F&M government would stand on this firm foundation of progress and see this historic agreement through to its natural conclusion in the best interest of all Bahamians. And Speaker, is going on to another subject. I have 15 minutes. But I can come back at 3 and deal with that at 3. Come back at 3. Yeah. Yeah. Tell me I finished. No. 1 o'clock.
No.
You need
You have a consistent role now.
You need a unanimous
You have to have a consistent role. You can't abuse the power.
I come 3 o'clock. I don't choose to finish. I'll come back at 3. I'll come back at 3.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Bamboo Town.
Break. Let him come back if you want to talk, man. Let him come back if you want to talk. Mr. Speaker,
We'll give you the 10 minutes Glennis took from you.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Bamboo Town.
Mr. Speaker, I do move that the House do suspend until 3 p.m. Today, June 19th, 2017.
Is there a seconder? It has been moved and seconded that the House suspends its business until 3 p.m. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those who oppose will rise.